Welcome to TVAI, your source for unbiased global news. In a world that never stops changing, where policies shape the lives of millions, where decisions made in the highest offices ripple across society, TVAI brings you the latest updates with clarity and depth. We are here to deliver news that matters, stories that define our era, and insights into the events that will shape the future. Today, we turn our focus to a groundbreaking decision that is sending shockwaves across the United States, an executive order that will dismantle one of the country's most influential federal agencies. On March 22, 2025, President Donald Trump signed an order to dissolve the United States Department of Education, marking a historic turning point in American governance. This unprecedented move has ignited intense national debate, raising critical questions about the future of education in the country. What does this mean for students, teachers, and families? How will state governments respond to this sudden shift in authority? And what impact will this decision have on the next generation? Join us as we dive deep into the dismantling of the Department of Education, exploring the reasons behind this decision, the reactions from all sides, and the far-reaching consequences that will unfold in the coming months. The United States Department of Education, founded in 1979 under President Jimmy Carter, has long been responsible for shaping national education policies, distributing federal student aid, and enforcing academic standards across the country. For over 4 decades, it has played a crucial role in ensuring access to quality education for millions of students. Now, with the stroke of a pen, that legacy is being dismantled. President Trump's executive order effectively transfers the responsibility of education entirely to state governments, eliminating federal oversight and funding mechanisms that have been in place for generations. Supporters of this decision argue that education should be controlled at the local level, free from what they perceive as excessive federal interference. They believe that eliminating a centralized authority will empower states to craft policies that align with their unique educational needs, fostering competition and innovation in the school system. However, critics warn of severe consequences, predicting widespread instability as states scramble to adjust to this sudden shift. The biggest concerns include funding disparities, potential increases in educational inequality, and uncertainty surrounding standardized testing, curriculum guidelines, and teacher certifications. Across the nation, millions of students, parents, and educators are reacting to this monumental decision. Some celebrate what they see as a long overdue reform, while others fear the impact of losing federal support for low-income schools, special education programs, and student loan initiatives. Social media has erupted with heated debates, with hashtags like #EducationReform, #SaveOurSchools, and #EndFederalControl trending across major platforms. Protests and rallies are being organized in major cities as advocacy groups on both sides prepare to lobby Congress and challenge the order in court. Meanwhile, state governments are now at a crossroads. With no federal guidance, they must quickly devise new policies and funding structures to replace federal education grants, which account for billions of dollars annually. Some states are welcoming this newfound freedom, while others are struggling to determine how they will compensate for the lost federal funding. A closer look at the Department of Education's role. To understand the impact of this decision, it's essential to examine what the Department of Education has historically provided. Beyond regulating schools and enforcing policies, the department administers federal student loans, supports disadvantaged communities, and ensures that educational institutions meet national standards. One of the most significant aspects of the department's work is Title I funding, which allocates federal dollars to schools in low-income areas. Without this support, many schools may struggle to provide necessary resources, such as updated textbooks, technology, and qualified educators. Additionally, programs under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, have ensured that students with disabilities receive specialized support. Critics of the executive order argue that removing federal oversight could jeopardize these essential protections, leaving vulnerable students without the resources they need. Financial ramifications: the loss of billions in federal funding. The United States Department of Education has historically managed an annual budget of over $70 billion, much of which is distributed to schools and students in need. Without this funding, state governments will be responsible for filling the financial gap. Experts warn that states with lower tax revenues may struggle to maintain educational programs at current levels. Wealthier states, such as California and New York, may have the resources to adjust, but others, particularly in the South and Midwest, could face massive budget shortfalls. The future of federal student loans and grants. One of the most pressing concerns is the status of federal student aid, including Pell Grants and subsidized student loans. These financial aid programs help millions of students afford college, and without federal oversight, it is unclear how these funds will be managed. While some states may attempt to create their own student loan programs, the transition is expected to be complex and costly. Private lenders may step in to fill the gap, but interest rates could rise significantly, making higher education less accessible for low-income students. Reactions from universities and educators. The executive order has prompted strong reactions from universities, teachers' unions, and education experts. Many institutions have expressed deep concerns about the lack of federal oversight, warning that the decentralization of education policies could create disparities in academic standards across states. Public universities rely heavily on federal funding, particularly for research grants and student aid. Without this support, they may face budget cuts, tuition hikes, and faculty reductions. Legal challenges and political battles. The decision to dissolve the Department of Education is expected to face legal challenges. Advocacy groups, civil rights organizations, and state officials are already preparing lawsuits to block the order, arguing that eliminating federal oversight violates constitutional protections for equal education opportunities. Congress may also attempt to intervene, with lawmakers from both parties debating the long-term implications of this move. Some Republican legislators support the order, seeing it as a step towards smaller government, while Democrats largely oppose it, citing concerns over equity and accessibility. With the executive order now signed, the process of dismantling the Department of Education is expected to unfold over several years. The transition will require state legislatures, school districts, and educational institutions to develop new frameworks for governance and funding. The ultimate question remains: will the elimination of federal oversight lead to a more efficient and innovative education system, or will it create widespread disparities that leave millions of students behind? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the latest updates on global events that matter.